Hey everybody. This is a video that I've actually been looking forward to doing. I call it 5 Reasons Why Rick Santorum is a Total Moron. And you'll see why these reasons are so good. Now, they're not necessarily the top 5 or anything like that. I might do more reasons later. But these are definitely 5 reasons that I think you'll understand why I needed to include. The first reason is why Rick Santorum is a total moron is that Rick Santorum doesn't understand what the word freedom means. He talks about freedom all the time and how essentially Obama doesn't want to give us freedom, but somehow he will. But really, what he's talking about when he's talking about freedom is the freedom for corporations to pay no taxes and to do whatever they want. I mean, he wants to repeal the EPA to get them out of their way and to reduce the corporate tax rate to zero. But when it comes to individual people, he wants to restrict access to things like health care, and he wants to get rid of government regulations, and who knows, maybe that means child labor laws like Newt Gingrich wanted. Restricting access to things that we want, like pornography and gambling and things like that. Um, Rick Santorum also wants to, thinks that it's totally okay to ban birth control. So, it seems to me that he doesn't understand what the word freedom means, because otherwise he would be suggesting that somehow he's more free when he wants to take away so much. Um, Now, the next reason, which I thought was also pretty good, was that Rick Santorum does not understand why our life expectancy is better. Yesterday, Rick Santorum spoke in Illinois. I was watching C-SPAN and I happened to catch it. And so essentially, he was saying he was crediting the inception of the United States with why life expectancy is better. But if you look at why the reasons of life expectancy is better, you know, most of them have nothing to do with the United States. In fact, the United States hindered life expectancy for the longest time, and not only that, but many of them Rick Santorum is deeply opposed. Let's talk about the reasons about why women live longer now than they did 200 years ago. Two of the major reasons. The first one is prenatal care. Prenatal care is something that Rick Santorum has opposed. He says that women have prenatal care essentially to figure out whether or not they need to have an abortion. And that's not true at all. If it hadn't been for prenatal care, my baby and I would be dead, essentially. So, prenatal care is a very necessary thing, but this goes along with his kind of fear of healthcare and stuff like that. So, essentially, he thinks that prenatal care is about determining whether or not you need to have an abortion. Um, but that's not it at all. Prenatal care does a lot of different things, and one of the things that it does is it monitors how much oxygen the baby is getting in the womb. Now, after I'd been diagnosed with preeclampsia, I was on bed rest for a while, and why they took the baby was that they were figuring out whether or not they decided the baby wasn't getting enough oxygen in the womb. So essentially, if they hadn't taken the baby then, me and the baby could have died, because the baby wasn't getting enough oxygen in the womb, possibly for several reasons, some of those which may have killed me, and could have probably killed him too. So essentially, if it hadn't been for prenatal care, we would both be dead. And there's many different reasons for it, and that's just one of my personal reasons. Another reason why women are able to live longer now than they were perhaps a few years ago, like 100 years ago or something like that, is because of birth control. Birth control, another thing that was banned in the United States for the longest time. Um, and so now that it's legal, people like Rick Santorum think that it's a license for women to have sex freely. Well, men already have sex freely, so why can't women have sex freely? Well, I'll tell you why. He's afraid of women. That's another video, though. I'm going to make another video about that one. But he does fear empowered women. And so, obviously he doesn't want them to have control of their sexual reproduction. And, essentially birth control allows women to have less children and therefore puts their life in danger at less times. And not only that, but women who don't have as many children are able to work outside the home, and people who work outside the home are able to provide themselves health care and other things and to live lives with more money. And when you have more money, obviously you live longer. So, all those things kind of come to pass when it comes to life expectancy. Besides that, of course, is the invention of antiseptics, which happened in Austria, not in the United States. And of course, things like the EPA and the FDA, those awful government organizations and government spending, which he is against. If we didn't have the EPA, we'd have higher levels of mercury in our food, which causes all sorts of nasty illnesses. Then, of course, there's government regulation like child labor laws and things like that helped us essentially make a more humane workforce and give people breaks and allow for maternity leave and things like that. Those things also helped life expectancy. But he's against government regulation. So, I mean, we're talking about somebody who doesn't really care about life expectancy, except maybe for himself. Now, when it comes to why Rick Santorum is a moron, that's only two reasons so far. The third reason is that Rick Santorum doesn't understand the First Amendment. Rick Santorum seems to think that the First Amendment applies either only to his religion, only to Christianity, or simply that somehow he interprets that Christianity is supposed to rule the country. Um, in the speech that he gave yesterday, he was talking about how important the Declaration of Independence is in understanding the Constitution. Well, really, those documents were written by different people at different times, so the two are not really used to correlate each other. Declaration of Independence was written by Thomas Jefferson, and the Bill of Rights was written by different people, of course, over the course of history. But the original Constitution was mostly written by James Madison. So we're talking about different people. Obviously, you can't use the two to correlate each other. But the reason he says that is because he wants to quote the part in the Declaration of Independence that says that we're endowed by our Creator. And he wants to suggest that Creator is the Christian God. But what he doesn't realize is that the Declaration of Independence was written by an agnostic, a deist, essentially. Thomas Jefferson was a deist. He didn't believe in the same God you do. And the reason he put our Creator is because he wanted to put something vague that applied to people of all religious stripes. Jews, Christians, Muslims, so forth and so on. Buddhists, whatever. And so, endowed by our Creator does not mean your Creator, and therefore you don't get to define what rights we have by the Bible because he wasn't talking about your God. Okay, so the next reason that I have that was reason number 3. This is reason number 4. Reason number 4: Rick Santorum doesn't understand sex. Now you might think, well, that's kind of funny because he's had lots of sex. Obviously, he's got 7 kids. So how does he not understand sex? Well, what he doesn't understand about sex is how sex is in society. He seems to think that, women can put an aspirin between their legs and live a happy life, and that sex doesn't really have an important part in a person's life and their pursuit of happiness. And so he believes that he can restrict our access to things like pornography, and that somehow pornography is harmful to women. And I've heard this argument from feminists before, and I never really understood it. The only way that pornography can be harmful to women if it's the type where women are being beat or something like that, which that's a different story altogether. When you're talking about pornography, it's just two people having sex with each other. Both people are engaged in the sex act, so how is it more harmful to the woman than the man? The only way that you can believe that is if you believe that there should be a sexual double standard between men and women, where women are automatically the victims in a sexual situation. And so, obviously, Rick Santorum and lots of feminists, by the way, don't really understand sex because they think somehow that women are automatically victims when it comes to sex. That a woman having sex with someone, especially someone who's not her husband, doesn't actually want or enjoy sex. She's simply doing it to please him or for some other end. And, that there is no such thing as a woman's sexual satisfaction. Also, he doesn't seem to understand birth control and why women use birth control. It seems to be that he thinks that it's just about premarital sex. But, for example, my husband and I were prescribed birth control after I had my son, because it was very dangerous for me to get pregnant again right after I had him. And so I had birth control, so I didn't get pregnant during that year afterwards because, I was recovering. I had a C-section and all that stuff. And so, there's many different reasons why people use birth control. And he seems to just think that it's about a license to have sex. Well, I hate to tell him, but, if you look at, for example, abstinence-only programs and stuff like that, people who go through abstinence-only programs have sex just about as often as people who didn't go through them. It's just that people who go through abstinence-only programs are much less likely to use birth control. And the reason is because they're ashamed about the sex that they're having. They have been shamed into it. And so their urges are the same. Their urges are the same, but the actions and the precautions taken are different. And so Rick Santorum does not understand sex. Rick Santorum, and this is number 5, of course, so this will be the end of my video. Rick Santorum does not understand the economy. Rick Santorum and most of the Republicans seem to think that the answer to the economy is doing what we did before Obama, which is cutting the taxes for the rich, and they call them the job creators, right? You've heard that before. We can't raise taxes on the job creators. Let's talk about job creation for a second. What creates jobs in this country, okay? What creates jobs in this country is, of course, demand. Okay? If there's demand for products and services, there's more jobs because we have to have more people to make the products and service the products and sell the products. Okay? So we do make products, service products, sell products. That's most of what the economy is. Of course, there's other parts of the economy too, but that is the whole and the heart of the economy. Make products, service products, sell products. You know, and so if you think about what it takes to grow this economy, what it takes is a rich and robust middle class. Because if we have a rich and robust and growing middle class, that is, more people from the lower class being able to bring themselves up to the middle class, then we have a better economy because we have more people and the demand for goods. And when you have more demand for goods, then you have more people selling those goods, producing those goods, and servicing those goods. And so that's what creates a good economy. That's why the 50s were so great, because we had a big middle class and lots of people making stuff. And so we need to get back to that. And he talks about, you know, upping manufacturing and everything like that, but he also talks about, you know, reducing the corporate tax rate to 0 and, you know, doing things like repealing the minimum wage. Well, if you repeal the minimum wage, then all the manufacturing jobs in the world aren't going to do us any good because they aren't going to pay enough to make somebody into the middle class. So that's what we need. Also, he's blaming Obama for the gas prices, which I think is so funny because if you remember in 2008 under Bush, the gas prices went up astronomically. I was living in Chicago at the time, and it was nearly $5 a gallon, and it really made me cry. Okay, it was really bad, and the reason is because George Bush let loose these people called speculators, and speculators on Wall Street are the ones that are setting the gas prices right now. So when things like tensions in the Middle East go up, then the gas prices go up. So under Rick Santorum, who would rather bomb Iran, their gas prices are just going to go up more because the speculators are going to realize that we have trouble in the Middle East, and that's why the gas prices are going up. If you want the gas prices to go down, tell us to get the F out of all these Arab nations that create the oil and to start, you know, producing more oil at home and more other things at home. Now they'll say, well, Obama's tried to curb production at home. That's not true either. We're actually producing more oil now within the United States than we have in the last 8 years. So you know, once again, you know, it doesn't make any sense when they blame Obama. What they need to do is start blaming themselves for all these wars they wanted us to get into. So anyway, those are my top 5 reasons right now. If you have anything to add, please do so, but like I always say, be respectful. If you want to hear more from me, I am on Monday nights, I do a radio show with my good friend Mark Mandrake over on Pagans Tonight. Just go to paganstonight.com on Monday nights at 10 Eastern, that's 9 Central, and you can listen to our show. We talk about all sorts of things, politics, food, the history of neo-paganism, everything like that. So if you want to hear more from me, you can do so there, and I'm going to be trying to make more videos here. All right, everybody, blessed be.